Tenda Mwadi, Abibi Fahodie. Blessings and greetings, one and all. I'm going to be playing a couple conversations that I've had concerning black nationalist, Pan Africanism, African identity, and related issues over the past year and a bit. This particular conversation took place on the Dagger Squad channel in June of 2019. If you're not familiar with the Dagger Squad, check it out. Go subscribe and all these things. And support the thing. And you'll find the full video for this particular conversation, or that this particular conversation is taken from, in the description. For this, I'm only going to be playing the sections of the conversation that I was involved in, yeah? And for this particular video, I will be starting it at the point at which I was prompted, or I prompted myself to get in the conversation. So it's a little bit before I actually enter, but where it starts is the reason for which I entered, if that makes sense. So yeah, man, I hope ones and ones gain something from the information, the perspectives, the ideological variances, and all these things. And feel free to share your own perspectives and opinions in the comments section. I just figured it would be, prudent and wise to preserve the conversation in this format. And so yeah, man, support the brothers and sisters who from whom these channels were broadcast and everything there. All right, look forward to hearing from you. Tendam Wali Hotep Rastafari Abibi Fahodie.
I say all that to say is because what you're saying as far as policies and protection, it has to be anchored into the government. And that's what people don't understand. So you have this anti-government attitude, or this non-participatory attitude that we have as a people in general. Like, we don't participate. We don't deal with politics. We call it politricks. We don't. And for those of us who vote, we just vote. People just customarily vote Democrat. They don't even know what the policies that these people are pushing or anything, if they do go and vote. But we have this non-participant attitude with government on a local level, state, city, state, and in the federal. People will vote, but that's about it. They're not really involved or abreast or really competent about what these politicians are pushing specifically. And so that is a big problem, because we're going to need to anchor ourselves in the government and utilize our citizenship, and which is why ADOS advocates, the American part, because we are American. People don't like it. Like, there's people out here who can't even say my government or my country.
Right.
They can't say my country or my government. Like, it's really hard, and I understand why, but that ties into the emotional aspect of our legacy that we've inherited, and everything. It kind of bars us from saying that. But when we get past that and everything, what you're saying, it starts to become clear. It starts to become clear of what we have to do and what we have to make sure is in place. The policies and protection, like you said, because programs can be put out there, but we know that when money is moved from one spot to another spot, there's always hands in the jar.
Right. And let me add another thing to this, Stable Joe. Is like, one of the points of ABOS is to get 15%. I think it's 15% of the SBA loans, right? So SBA has this push right now to get small businesses, minority businesses, certified in their ADAFA program, so that, because right now that ADAFA program, which is a 9-year program that provides a mentorship for small business contractors to get opportunities to bid on source contracts of less than $4 million. But what has happened is, those, because they've you got the people's in place and trying to keep people out. A lot of the program, the people who are, like, I'll take the state of South Carolina for example, because that's where I am, and so that's what I've been following up on lately, is that we have 1,700 small businesses that are eligible for the 8 AFRIKAN program right now. However, only 25 percent of those business programs are actually, those numbers are actually decreasing. And so they have this little push, they're going around doing this training to get companies into the program. So because I'm pretty knowledgeable in these certifications and how they work, one of our biggest dilemmas in our small businesses and why they're not going into the program is because, one, they're not filing their business corporate taxes. And so if you don't have corporate taxes, then you can't, that's one of the requirements for you being in. One of the second ones is that a lot of our businesses are housed from a residency based business. And so with that being said, when it comes down to zoning and they go in and check your zoning to ensure that can your company be either in that area or they'll say something like, well, you need a brick and mortar. Our businesses either don't have the capital or are not willing to take the business out of their home because a lot of the work that they're doing is mobile. And so they don't feel a need to get a brick and mortar. And so there's a lot of like little underlining things. That's why I say people need to watch the Urban Economic Empowerment Show, because I'm trying to give a lot of the weaknesses in where when this funding start coming out from these different areas, regardless of which individuals get it, then there are some things that's going to keep us from benefiting. And a lot of times those benefits is because our folks are not let me not say our. Some people who are in the business perspective, just that piece right there, are not operating business the way business should be operated, and so they're not in compliance. And if you're not going to be in compliance, you're not going to benefit. And what's going to happen is the white Caucasian female will come in and they will take it again, and we're going to still be at the bottom. And so right now, if you have a business and you're interested, that campaign is going on right now. So if that HR 40 came into play, or if AWS get a play at the table and that gets to be one of the bullet points that gets pushed, then you will be ready, and you won't be one of those businesses where they said, okay, yes, we have 1,700 businesses that are eligible, that are available, but they're not eligible. And the eligibility requirement they're using is these certifications. And that's why Trump's trying to push the certifications and set asides out of the way, because they know that once you become there, you'll get an opportunity to build your net worth. Okay, that was my other point.
Yeah.
Hello. Yeah, hello.
Yeah,
Can you hear me? Yeah. What I also want to say, also too, like what a lot of people are overlooking that they're talking about too. They're not just the things that they're talking about. They're also talking about an infrastructure set around them, things to do some of them, to protect yourself against some of the things you're asking, that Monica's talking about. You know what I'm saying? That's why they're talking about certain things protected by the government, so we don't fall victims to the same things that happened in the past. But I also think, even with Garfield, a lot of his emotion comes from elephant in the room, and that people don't really discuss is immigration. When the movement starts talking about immigrants, like I think that's the elephant in the room that we don't really talk enough about, and there's a lot of misconception as to why that's being said, or why we choose to separate ourselves from immigrants, from the immigrant population. What's the purpose in that? Like, what's the purpose in separating our numbers from immigrant numbers, so they know that it's not an attack of the immigrants? So that's a conversation that we don't really have enough. And that's really what a lot of the anger and frustration comes from, be it immigrants or even the Pan-African movements. They don't really understand the concept of actually why it's being said.
I agree with you. And I think that the conversation is not had enough is because people bring that emotion. Like, I think a lot of people's minds are closed or over full with that backdrop, with that baggage, because when the conversation comes up, it's already on 10. And so people, it takes a lot to unpack that conversation. And if people understand, at the end of the day, people will call ADOS a divisive movement. And when people say that, they don't understand something very, very fundamental, is because what has to happen is that we've been bamboozled into identifying with this flat blackness. And that's fine for the everyday, everyday going ons. But when it comes to specific things and government, our interaction and interfacing with the government and this specific reparative justice claim, we have to deal with that flat blackness. And so it's almost like if there's a program, a potential program that is about to be created for women, let's just say it's a program that deals with women. And so they take a census in a certain area for the number of women in households. Now, the household, when a person comes or application comes and they're asking about the number of women in the household, that is not divisive. That is taking an inventory of the women for the purposes of whatever that program is going to be. But the husband and wife of a household, they're not going to look at that as divisive. Oh, that's just divisive. That's separating me from my wife or whatever. No. And so ADOS is a separate, it does have a separate claim than those who have immigrated here. It's just that simple. It's not something that is negative. It's not something that's bad. It's not something that's hate or anything like that. Just like a woman filling out an application for a policy and program that's just for women, they're not hating on their husband or the males of the household.
You better say that. Y'all better leverage it.
But that's what I'm saying. So if people just look at things like that to start off with, now of course, like this is the problem. This is the pro. Now there's pros and cons with a advocacy movement that is not framed under a bona fide organization. Like there are strengths and weaknesses with that strategy. And one of the weaknesses or problems or cons is the fact that people can say anything. So like people, like you have the Black Authority and his website, he got a lot of channel, a lot of followers. You got Tariq Nasheed and so on and so forth. And they already have a lot of followers prior to this subject matter. And then this subject matter comes up and they talk about that. They just have their followers and they're influential. And so they say what they say, and then people parrot what they say. And then that becomes one of the statements of the whole movement. And that's why I believe that's why Garfield is even having this show, because his show is titled Tariq Nasheed is not for reparations. Because at the end of the day, it's like, so what? I mean, if he's not, I don't know. I've never seen Tariq Nasheed's videos, so I'm gonna make that disclaimer. But I'm saying if he does say that, it's like, okay, and that's why I was asking, well, how does that affect things? Because it may, I just don't know. It may. But my point though is that's a problem. That's one of the problems of a movement like this. But there's a lot of pros for a movement like this as well. But so we got to understand these things and understand what's going to happen. So people gotta just get with it and come to it, to come to the conversation with some sense and leave the emotion and everything behind. So we could talk about what you mentioned, King Sosa, about the reason why ADOS is specific. Like out of Black America, we have two groups, ADOS and those who immigrate here. It's just that simple. Like I don't understand how anybody don't get it, but because of what people are saying and things like that, because of what Danny mentioned, actually, it goes back into our childhood and prior to that, where immigrants and Native Black Americans already had a little tension for whatever the reasons are, whether it's stereotypical or not. This is like an ongoing subtle thing that collects, like a snowball effect. And so we're seeing it here now that, okay, immigrants feel like, okay, we're being attacked or we're being blamed for this and that. Not understanding that the government is using any and everything to deny what it owes. And trust me, if you owe somebody some money and you felt that there is some kind of excuse you can use to not pay that money, then you're going to use it. And that's what the government has been doing. The government has been pacifying us, and the biggest example of that is affirmative action. Affirmative action has been cloaked as if that is doing something for African Americans, when the most beneficiaries of affirmative action has been white women.
Wait,
Can I jump in here?
I got my job off affirmative action. Don't do that.
Can I jump in here?
Yeah,
Greetings. My name is Shakara, for those who may not be aware. And yeah, interesting conversation so far. I'm really just here because of the fact of Pan-Africanism being mentioned. And I don't know if any, I've only ever heard Brother Garfield refer to himself as a Pan-Africanist. Is there anybody else that's on the chat right now that refers to themselves as a Pan-Africanist?
I don't.
Okay.
I don't.
Okay, cool. Which basically, therefore, there are some things that need clarification, yeah. Because I'm hearing two words, yeah, that are being used to describe Pan-African positions in terms of some of the ADOS rhetoric, and I'm saying some of ADOS rhetoric and not its entirety. One of the words is misunderstanding or lack of understanding, don't understand, and the other is emotionalism, and the term emotionalism was used to refer to the critique that some Pan-Africanists or many Pan-Africanists have with regards to ADOS not using the term African and championing the term American. This is being characterized as, you know, an emotional response, yeah. And I think this, again, to use the first terminology, this is a lack of an understanding of the Pan-African position, because and it speaks to a lack of understanding of why Pan-Africanists use the term African and what that means in a Pan-African context. But it is also, in my humble opinion, a denial of some of the rhetoric that has come from ADOS on this issue, because we're not just talking about affirming American identity for the sake of policy, procedure, jurisprudence, and political strategy. We are talking about a rejection of the term African as it relates to Black people in America, a rejection of the connection between Africans in America and Africans in Africa, and a rejection of the idea of Africanness, yeah, as in global Africanness, a global African identity. And in that context, the ADOS movement has for at least a year now, or should I say the leaders, the founders of ADOS, have for at least a year been attacking Pan-Africanists because of Pan-Africanists affirming that particular ideal, yeah. And so in responding now, Pan-Africanists have affirmed, well, no, this is not you know, to the charge, for example, that Africanness or Pan-Africanism is an exercise in massaging the ego. No, this is a political movement that has deep roots and justifications, the stances that it has. For the idea that a woman and a man who are Africans can affirm, I am not African, I am American. And so Pan-Africanists respond to that, you know, and we're being told that we're emotional, which is a joke to me, especially if you consider the arguments behind why, yeah, this term African and the whole idea of Africanness are being rejected. I know it is being put forward that it's purely just a matter of, you know, getting behind the strategy of, you know, working through the American political and judicial system. Well, when you put forward the idea that Africans sold us into slavery as a reason for why you're not African, this has nothing to do with American jurisprudence or specificity within the American political system. This is a political stance that is developed out of a cultural understanding and a flawed, or should I say, minimized idea of what the history of African enslavement constituted. So I really just need for people who, you know, and to be fair, there are many Pan-Africanists who are championing this thing as well, but especially for those who are not Pan-Africanists, it suggests to me that more study and more information need to be developed about what Pan-Africanism is, the history of Pan-Africanism, and the arguments that Pan-Africanists have in relation, and the critiques that Pan-Africanism have in relation to ADOS rhetoric, specifically coming from Yvette Carnell and Antonio Moore.
Can I respond to a look? Because even in the chat, when I see somebody that say ADOS is anti-African, right? When that's a crazy statement to make, because in order to be a descendant of somebody enslaved, you have to be an African. You know what I'm saying? So that concept to me is crazy. So, but family, like, you still would have to agree that. So it's not a denying of being African, but in this particular conversation, what's trying to be done, you would have to agree that start labeling yourself African in this legal stance right now would not be the most beneficial thing to do. It would really dilute everything that's trying to be done. Like, you would have to. Can you at least agree with that part of it?
No, I don't see the link. Yeah, and nobody has. I've asked many people this, and nobody's been able to explain it to me. I don't see the link between affirming an African identity and not achieving reparations in America. I'm not seeing it. The very legislation that is being proposed at the moment, HR 40, refers to Black people in America as African American. And I don't know that it's ever been considered a hindrance anywhere, and you please correct me if I'm wrong, but anywhere whereby the term African and the term African American has been put forward as a reason why this particular legislation, and there are many reasons why it hasn't moved forward, but I'm not sure that the use of the term African is one of them. And on another point, let me just quote from Yvette Carnell. And she says, one of the things that she's reading from an article when she's saying she doesn't understand is that a lot of people don't understand is about who we are as Black American descendants of slaves, is that we are descendants of slaves and slave masters. But what we always try to do, ladies and gentlemen, is always try to erase that white slave master, even though that Black female slave, she had no control over her body. So we know what that led to. And so we like to have this erasure and say, we are African. I am African. She says, no, you're not African. First of all, you're not African. First of all, you're not, she goes, you're not just African. First of all, you're not African. First of all, what is African? Yvette Carnell and Antonio Moore in his article about African Americans are more than just Africans in America, says categorically that Africans in America are not African. Yeah, so they do reject African identity. I don't know why they deny it. They do it so often, and they actually even ridicule people who affirm an African identity, who are not from the continent of Africa.
Okay, so let me say this. My understanding, well, when you ask, because you first asked as far as us on the panel if we're Pan-Africanist, and I don't refer to myself as a Pan-Africanist, but I don't have a problem with saying I'm African. So I don't think that the two should be equated. I mean, I'm not saying you're doing it, but I'm just saying for my understanding, I don't think that you're doing that. But it could seem that way, the way that the conversation, the way that you kind of build up that what you were saying, Pan-African and African. So the thing is that Africa is a continent, okay? And as King Sosa said, that in order for you to be an American lineal descendant of a victim of the institution of slavery, by default, it should go without saying, it's self-evident, it is incorporated or inherent within that title that you are African. But so it's like saying you're African in public and to your friends, but then when it comes to this reparative justice claim, calling yourself African has no place in that. And that's what people got to understand. And so we are American citizens who are lineal descendants of victims of the institution of slavery and all of its vestiges that came afterwards. All right. And so to be an African, we are comfort. All humans on the planet Earth right now can trace their descendancy or ancestry, I should say, to the continent of Africa. So for the purpose of this reparative justice claim, That alone should tell you, because who we call white people who live in Europe today, they can accurately say that they are Africans who live in Europe. Now that sounds funny and that sounds strange, but that will be an accurate statement. They're not recent descendants. They're not recent descendants out of Africa into Europe as we are over here in America. But that statement will still be true nonetheless, biologically. So Africa
No, it wouldn't be true biologically.
Hold on a second. Let me say this real quickly before you did cut off with Jao, but let me say this since you cut him off. With Jao, you must be out of your mind today. I don't know why you even going that route. All you gotta say to the brother, Jao, you gotta be straight up with us, bro. We know you support Yvette and Tone.
No. Listen,
but Jao, hold on a second, brother.
You misrepresented me in the chat.
No, Jao, because
the emotion, Garfield.
Go ahead.
Africans.
Just
let's take the word African out of HR 40. Let's just take it all out because we don't want to be associated with Africa. What the brother is saying is saying that we are descendants of Africans who were enslaved. That's what's being pushed in HR 40. So for us to jump up and say, "Oh, we are Americans," and you just automatically just dropped in America, and then you're gonna try to equate it. The analogy. Hold on, Wujao. You're gonna try to equate the analogy with the white people in Europe could claim Africa, where we know that anybody who evolved outside of Africa is no longer considered African. So what are you saying? And you
Dagger.
Okay, no.
What are you saying though, bro?
Just Dagger yourself, Garfield.
Hey, wait. Listen. Wait. Let me talk. No. Listen, I was cut off. Let me talk. Garfield.
Go ahead.
Had I not been cut off, Garfield, you wouldn't even have to ask me the question. No, I'm not equating the two together. I'm making a point that everybody on the planet is African. Can anybody on this panel tell me otherwise? That every human being on the planet Earth, every Homo sapiens sapien, can trace their ancestry to the continent of Africa ultimately?
That's not a conversation.
No. I know.
Well, let him finish. Shakara. Let him finish because I want to hear where he's going. I really want to hear where he's going.
Okay, so no, we don't need to remove Africa out of HR 40 because it's African Americans. The whole title of the HR 40 bill has the moniker of African American. Okay, so we have no problem saying African American, but the thing is that Africa is a continent. The America part of it is our access to government. We are citizens. Matter of fact, the brother, you said, I think his name says Kush. You said your name was Shakara.
Yeah, sorry, I'm on my something's happened, but yeah, I'm on my road.
No problem. I just want to make sure.
Apologies.
No. I just want to make sure I don't call you out your name. So let me ask you: are you an American citizen?
No.
Okay, so
but you know that already, brother. You know that already. So.
No. I know now. I know who you are. I didn't know who you were at first. Now I put the two together. So don't put that on me. So, now I know who you are. But see, you're not an American citizen, so I don't expect you to really understand what our access to government through our citizenship and the importance of that entails. I don't expect now, and I hope you can, but I don't really expect you to get it. And plus, based on what you're saying, I don't think you do. So the American part, and it's Garfield, the American part is our access to citizenship. So Garfield, are you a citizen of the United States? Well, I'm not, no, you don't have to answer that because forget that, scratch that. But it's because we are citizens of this country, and we are lineal descendants of victims. We're here because we are victims of the institution of slavery, the transatlantic slave trade, and the institutions that was backed up, supported, and sanctioned and created by this government and the colonies prior to this government forming. That's why we're here. So it's inherent within the name ADOS that we are Africans. But in terms of this reparative justice claim, stating that we're Africans has no say. How does that have any say?
I'm not following the line of your reasoning, especially in relation to what I said. For me personally, the affirmation of American identity is problematic as a Pan-Africanist, and there are many Pan-Africanists who you might consider ADOS who will agree with me, yeah. But that's not the issue that I'm representing at the moment. What I am saying is that the founders, the leaders of the ADOS hashtag movement, yeah, expressly reject African identity. So this is not me challenging their affirmation of American or African Americanness. In the article, yeah, African Americans are more than just Africans in America. Antonio Moore puts forward an argument that challenges the validity of the use of the term African American in general, and affirms American descendants of slavery. Well, at that time it was actually the American descendants of slaves. Yeah, and so the idea is to disassociate from Africa and Africanness and affirm Americanness. One of the hashtags that came along with ADOS some months ago was America First. Yeah, so there is a reject, and I'll quote Yvette Carnell for you again. There are a lot of countries in Africa. There are a lot of different ethnic groups. There's a lot of diversity. There is no sameness in 54 countries. So the idea that that group of people who come from a few countries on the West Coast, the countries we come from as slaves who were brought here are the West Coast. How then do we have some sort of sameness or sort of identity or sort of cultural connectedness to all of Africa? We don't even have a connectedness to the West Coast, unquote. This is what the founders of ADOS are putting forward. I want to say as they champion a reparations movement. So the idea that the rejection that this is some strategy, it does African has no political or legal meaning within American infrastructure, and I can appreciate the use of the term American strategically within the context of American politics. I am a citizen of the United Kingdom. I am an African who I don't define my identity as British, yeah, but I am a British citizen, a citizen of the United Kingdom of Great Britain. Finally, with this logic about all, the statement that all human beings are African, and the statement that all human beings can trace themselves back to Africa are two different things. Yeah. And secondly, by the logic of the argument that you used, yeah, because you have North America and South America and Central America, all descendants of Africans enslaved in North, Central, and South America and the Caribbean are in fact American, right? Because that entire region is referred to as the Americas. Yeah, but that's not an argument to put forward, because when we say American in this context, we understand that we're talking about citizens of the United States of America. So to bring me this argument is a bit of a red herring and a straw man, with all due respect, my brother.
Okay, so let me address a couple of things. So because what it sounds like, based on your own admission, that you are a British citizen, and for all intents and purposes, people who are British citizens are called British, but you don't identify yourself as British according to your own admission just a second ago. So it's a prerogative thing. And so what we got to do is get out of the prerogative and what you choose to identify and call yourself, and with what works. So with that being said, what is an African identity? But wait. Before I ask you that, I wanted you to slow down when you quoted Antonio Moore, because he said that we, and I'm paraphrasing now, but you had quoted him saying that we come from some of the countries on the west coast of Africa. Okay, I'm sorry, Yvette. So she said that we come from some of the countries on the west coast of Africa. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, do you think that she is either retarded or that slow that to say that we come from some countries on the west coast of Africa, but at the same time denying the fact that she's African in that sense? Or there's a reason, there's another reason why she doesn't recommend identifying as African, just like you don't identify as a British, although you just said that you are a British citizen.
I think you're doing you're trying to really re-explain and give Yvette Carnell an argument that she's not putting forward. What I quoted from was her statement in a video entitled "Pan-Africanism is Dead." The whole point of the video and her expose in the video, is to basically destroy and dismantle the Pan-African ideology and movement. And within that context, so this is not her talking about, the context of the conversation that she's having now is not we're in America, and so strategically, as citizens of America, we should disassociate from an African identity in order to progress our agenda in America. That's not what she's saying. She's saying that this identification with Africa.
But she said that.
1 second, please. Because in the statement that I just made, she makes the clear statement, we don't even have a connectedness to the West Coast. So even in the statement that she made, she identifies that we come from the West Coast of Africa, but ends the statement by saying we don't even have a connectedness to the West Coast of Africa. So you're trying to give the sister, an explanation and credit that she's not even giving herself. I'm not gonna. So you want me to
let me interject for a second, brother. I want to say this. Everybody is a Pan-African, whether they want to admit it or not. It depends on which Pan-African definition you want, and that just shows we need to have a discussion about this in our community too. What is a Pan-African? Because a lot of people think they know what a Pan-African is, but they don't know, because it depends on which group of thought. Are you a Kwame Nkrumah Pan-African? Are you a Stokely Carmichael Pan-African? Are you a Marcus Garvey Pan-African? Because some Pan-Africans just say, hey, those who just identify that they're black. Some say, do you identify with blacks worldwide, because it's a worldwide struggle. Remember, Marcus Garvey wasn't a Pan-African at the beginning. He wasn't, but eventually he became this Pan-African that we use as, hold on, puppy, we use to say that we're RBG. Okay, go get another shirt and come right back, okay? Come right back. All right. So now, family, what I want to say is with this conversation is we cannot defend, I don't think anybody should try and defend what Yvette Carnell and Tone says half the time. Because behind the craziness that they say that is offensive, they do have some good rhetoric that makes sense. And that's what's crazy about them. They'll drop you the wealth gap stuff. They'll drop you the economic stuff. They'll drop you the programs that we need. They'll sound like Monica 1 minute. They'll sound like Garfield 1 minute. They'll sound like Shakara 1 minute. But on the other hand, then they come out and said, you know what? Yo, I don't want to be attached to no Igbo. But yet still when she shows her DNA results, she's attached to the same West African. She's trying to say she's West African by showing her DNA results, but yet still she don't want to be attached to them because, oh, those same people enslaved me. So you can't claim Africa. If you don't claim Africa, you can't make a reparations claim, because you have to come from somewhere. But the hatred, I don't think we should spend any time trying to defend Yvette and Tone on this stuff. I think what we need to do is move forward from them and talk about what reparations is going to be in a reality in America. That's what I don't. Hold on. Tone rhetoric. We can't defend it. I don't think we should wait, because I'm telling you, Joe, if you try to defend it, Shakara gonna slap you up. I'm gonna tell you straight up.
Listen, ain't nobody gonna slap me up in debating or anything. So I can handle my own. I don't need.
All right, I'm just telling you. He gonna slap you up.
No, it's not. So listen. Right. So listen. So if people don't cut me or anything, then I'm good. I can handle myself very well. So back to what I was saying. Because the thing is back to this British, because I'm trying to understand your logic, Shakara. You said that you are a British citizen, but you don't identify yourself as British.
I'm British, yes. I am a British citizen, yes, but I am not British. Yes. Okay,
right. So you're a citizen.
I don't know for you to understand, though.
I say it again.
I don't know why it's difficult for you to understand.
Hold on. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Hold on 1 second, guys. Hold on. Let me say this right now. I don't mean to cut you with Jao. Don't disrespect me, with Jao, or anybody. Nobody's a clown. Anybody who gets, I don't care how you feel about me, or with Jao, or African Emporium, Monica, Sosa, or whatever. None of this, your clown stuff, I'm going to delete you. I'm not playing that game in my chat. I don't care if I disagree with Jawu. I'm not gonna call him out of his name. I'm not.
I don't.
Grow up. Hold on, Jawu. We need to grow up in the chat. I'm talking to the chat inside the chat. We need to grow up. We gotta learn to disagree and be disagreeable. Disagreeable. All right. Yeah. Notice the suffix. All right. It gives it a different meaning. So we need to understand that we can never be brothers, and this is why there will be no unity amongst our people, because we all want. There's not one person in the chat that's against reparations. Not one out of the 177 watching. Not 177 people watching, and there's not one person that's against reparations. Nobody's against it. But how we achieve it and what we get is where we disagree on. Okay. So that's what I need to be careful. We need to be careful when we make comments. Oh, he's slow, he's emotional, he's stupid, he's this. Stop it. I'm not right about 100%. I'll be wrong. I'll be wrong all the time. I mean, not all the time, but a lot of times. Struggle Zone said, take that face out your voice. All right. Struggle Zone cuss me out all the time in the chat, but he don't be calling me no names. He don't be saying, Garfield, your head's big because you're a coconut or whatever. He don't do like Danny. You know what I'm saying? But we need to relax, man. Come on, man. Wujao, I love Wujao to death. I love Shakara to death. I love Sosa to death. I love African Emporium to death. We might raise our voice a little bit or whatever, but ain't nobody going to disrespect nobody that's on the panel. And we need to cut it out. Yeah. Art in the chat. Yeah. I'm done for the day, man. I'm not saying no more. I'm sorry, Wujao. No,
it's no problem. I don't really pay. I don't even know what was transpiring in the chat, and I know for a fact half of the time people that say stuff. They won't say it if we were having a conversation face to face. It would just unfold a lot different. So that's that. But so now what I'm saying, so to pick up where we left off, I never said that I don't understand what you're saying, or I have a hard time understanding. I'm just trying to I'm pinpointing the logic. Because I'm trying to understand, you're not British, but you're a British citizen. So yeah. You don't use British as a synonym for a British citizen. That's the only way that will make sense. That a British to you is something different.
No. British can be a synonym for a British citizen. It just doesn't apply to me.
Oh, right. Okay. So it goes back. So I'm just reaffirming what I said before.
The issue is not grammar. Wujao. The issue is we're not dealing.
I wasn't talking grammar. I was talking meaning. But
no, I know what you said was that I don't use British as a synonym for a British citizen. Yeah. Right. Well, let's use the word meaning. You know what I'm saying? You know, we can deal with semantics if you want. It's not a semantical argument. It's quite simple. Like a British citizen is somebody who is a citizen of Great Britain. Yeah. But British, as a noun, is not a terminology that is specific and exclusive to British citizenry. It is also a cultural terminology. Yeah. And it is also a political terminology. Yes, and so why as I understand and I'm cognizant of the fact that the passport that I hold is a British passport, and therefore I have rights as a citizen of the United Kingdom of Great Britain. My identity is not defined by my citizenry, so I don't define myself as British.
Okay, so and that's basically what I gathered from what you're saying. So it's a prerogative thing. You don't self-identify under the moniker of British. That's your choice.
It's more than prerogative.
But that's your choice. That's your choice. You're choosing to do that.
It's also reality. For example, I am a citizen of Great Britain because my grandparents were one of among the many who came to Britain after World War II. They came from Jamaica and Antigua. Yes, and so my family, therefore, makes up of those identities also. Yes,
no,
I get it. It's not that complicated.
No, I know.
I don't know why we have to go around in circles about this.
No, I get it, but I guess because all I'm saying is that you said it's not your prerogative. I'm saying that's your choice. Because okay, let me ask you this way, and I'll get off that topic. Are there other people who are from Africa, who are quote unquote black, who live in the UK, who do identify and say that they're British?
More recently, that has been the case. It's a very recent thing because
Is that a yes, bro?
pardon me?
Is that a yes, bro?
Yeah, there are Africans who
Okay, so and
Okay, let's keep it moving.
hold up, and that's their choice. That's their prerogative to do that, right?
well, it's more than a choice. For example, there were Africans under colonial Britain in Jamaica who called themselves British. Yeah, because technically they were British citizens. So we what we call ourselves via our identity is based upon many different things. Yeah, there are Africans from Jamaica who categorically deny their African heritage and are from Scottish lineage because some Scottish slave master came and raped one of their grandmothers. Yeah, so these are what we call ourselves is not just a matter of choice and prerogative and whatever. There are factors, and I'm saying that my affirmation of a non-British but an African identity is political, yeah, and cultural, and to do with my heritage.
No, I get it. I'm just saying, okay, so because I don't want to split hairs when you say more, because you're not denying what I'm saying. You're adding on because you're saying it's more than what I'm saying. I'm just saying that it is a choice and it is a prerogative, and you're saying that it's not just that. So as long as we understand that that's your choice to do that and that's your prerogative, in addition to the other things you're saying, then we're cool. So what I'm saying is that people identify, they use different criteria and factors to identify themselves. So I want to ask you, what is an African identity to an African American? What does that do
to an African American? To be fair with you, I would more answer the question as to what an African identity is to a Pan-Africanist.
That's not my question. I
understand what I mean. I want
to avoid Pan-Africanism.
No, hold on a second, please. You have to understand what I mean. What I mean, because the African identity, yeah, as it is affirmed politically speaking, is not exclusive to Africans in America, and it is within the context of Pan-African liberation movements or political movements, yeah, that the African identity has credence and formulates itself. You understand what I'm saying? So an African identity to an African in America, yes, is a political affirmation of a connection to a landmass from which one was stolen, and a dedication, the cultural identification also, yes, and the dedication to the liberation of the people of that landmass, and the organization of the economy based upon that landmass to the benefit of Africa and African people globally.
Okay, so just so I understand you, because I was trying to avoid Pan-Africanist and Pan-Africanism in my
question. Can't avoid when you're talking to me, bro, because that is where I come in the conversation.
Okay, so in other words, my question is not I can't solicit an answer without going through or via Pan-Africanism with you.
Well, put it this way, you can apply the answer that I just gave to Africans in America.
I know, but it sound like your answer was that the African identity is only have credence, as your word, through the Pan-Africanist ideology or movement.
I am saying, well, the African identity is a fact of life, yeah? But you asked me a political question. What does it mean to Black people in America, Africans in America? Yes, so I'm giving you an answer that is based upon the historical development of this term as an identity for Black people. So the answer that I gave applies to Africans in America. For example, if we was to read the papers of in the 1800s and his affirmation of an African identity for Black people, yeah, then the answer that I gave would apply to that. If we dealt with Bishop Henry Neil Turner, the same would apply. If we dealt with Henry Sylvester,
let's deal with 2019.
No, but the term African has a history, yeah. So I can't do 2019.
Historically, what does it represent now?
Well,
yeah, but
before we get there,
so for example, if you were to ask me what does American represent, the identity of American represent to Black people in America, I would say that Now I would say that it represents slavery. I would say that it represents oppression. I would say that it represents degradation. I would say that it represents mass imprisonment, mass incarceration. I would say that it represents theft, robbery, rape. Yeah, these are things that and the same would apply to British, which is why I define myself as British. Britishness, British, as far as African people is concerned, is an identity of colonization, exploitation, enslavement, rape, pillaging, murder, death, yeah, and all these types of things based upon the history. That history hasn't changed. Unless they're going to tell me that
you unpack a lot of things.
African people in 2019.
Wait, hold on 1 second, y'all. Let me just. I just want to clarify. I just want to get something clear that because I'm going back to my question. Now, I specifically wanted to avoid in asking my question Pan-Africanist and Pan-Africanism, but I understand what you're saying when I asked that question with you. You contain it in that context.
Yeah, bro, don't misunderstand me. What I said was it's a fact of life, innit? We come from the continent of Africa. Yes,
but let Joe walk out one time, Shaka rock one time. Don't walk out uninterrupted one time. So we
let me just get it out. So because I'm trying to understand you. I'm trying to have a meeting of the minds because you made mention that, and it sounds like this is what you're saying in a nutshell, that the African identity, because my question was, what is the African identity and what does it mean to African Americans? Yes. And so then you gave your answer, but it sounds like you're saying that the African identity has to come through. It's only has credence coming through the lens of Pan-Africanism.
Okay, let me clarify. What the answer that I'm giving you pertains to the development of the use of the terminology by Africans globally in general and Africans in America in particular. So if you want to know what the African identity means to Africans in America, then I'd go to how Africans in America use the terminology in affirmation of an identity. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Right. When I do that now, I speak of Martin Delaney. I speak of Edward McBlyden. Yeah, I speak of Bishop Harry McNeil Turner. I speak of
we got you, bro. We got you.
Of what I'm saying.
I got that, but I'm asking, what does that do? What is what you just said do for African Americans?
What does it do? Right. Well, in order to answer that question,
let me put it a different way. Not necessarily
give a question
in a context of what does it do, or how does that benefit? How does that benefit the African American? And in your answer, relate that to the reparative justice claim that we're talking about for this show.
Beautiful. So the answer to the question lies lies really can be found in the legacy of Omowale Malcolm X and the work that he was doing in developing the Organization of Afro-American Unity. And by the way, coming back to this this thing about your government, because Brother Rudal, you mentioned the thing about you got blacks in America who can't say my government, yeah. And Omowale Malcolm X has a speech where he challenges black people in America about the use of this term my government, yeah. And when he was dealing with this of the theme, the field, and he basically affirms that my government, he says the government. Right, that was
I think Garfield's mic.
All right, my bad. Hey, listen, I got Danny on the phone real quick. Danny got a quick question for you guys. Can you guys mute your mic for a second? Because we're getting a feedback from somebody's phone. Everybody mute their mic real quick, please. Yeah, go ahead, Danny. Oh, it's Danny's phone. Hold on, Danny. I'm gonna call you right back. Hang up. I'm gonna call you right back. Hang on.
I mean, I have a way more.
Hold on 1 second, guys. Hold on 1 second, guys. Hold on 1 second. Yeah, go ahead, Danny.
I can't hear.
Can't hear.
Can't hear you. You gotta talk up a little bit louder, brother.
Okay, so this is the argument that people need to study. It's called Fraser versus Herskovitz. And the reason I bring
Can't hear.
I can't hear.
You're gonna have to jump on the panel.
Hold on, guys. Hold on a second. Everybody mute their mic. First of all, everybody mute your mic. All right. Go ahead, Danny.
I just want to say this real quick as far as this particular part of the discussion. There's an argument that came up years ago. It's called Fraser versus Hurst. People need to look it up and study. Fraser was actually a black man, and Hurst was a white man. Fraser's thesis or hypothesis is we became a new people, no longer African, through this traumatic experience in slavery. And in fact, it was Hurst who began to point out this syncretism and find these African remnants that we have, whether you either study the color people, we studied our culture and our language and our traditions, show those things. So when I think the question is asked, what makes us African today, it is those same things that we have in our culture, whether it be things that come down to music or the way that we interact with each other. So I mentioned earlier something like YouTube and all that stuff. Those are traditions that come out of West Africa as far as benefit society and things like that. So it's still ingrained in our culture, but we have to look for those cultural remnants to define and look at them and say, okay, these are the African parts of what we have as a people. That's all I want to say about that. So it's a good question to ask, but it's hard to identify now because whether you're in Britain or Jamaica or Swamp or whatever, we have trouble identifying what those African remnants are, but they still are there. That's what defines, that still makes us African. Forget about outside of the bloodlines and genealogy of it all, we still have the cultural parts of it in our culture. It's harder for us to identify. We see it. I mean, you can clearly see it in parts of Jamaica, right? You see the African is there. Clearly see it in certain things that we do. I did a whole presentation on the drum. Granted, I don't want to just make this about music or the art, but it's just as far as identifying those African remnants that we still have that makes us still African. We still have this black. That's all I want to add. I want to go back to it. I'm bad I can't jump on the cat. I just wanted to add that we still have those that makes us African. That's it, y'all. Y'all can go back.
All right, cool. All right, thank you, Danny. Appreciate it.
Brother Garfield, I don't know if any of us heard what the brother was saying,
Oh, okay.
I didn't hear none of that.
All right, don't worry about it. Go back to what y'all was talking about. Go back and talk what y'all was talking about. All right? Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
All right, cool. I was not saying, brother. Oh, sorry.
No, I was just gonna ask. I mean, I want you to get back to that, but I wanted y'all to address the comment of, when I watch the hearing and I hear these folks that are supposed to put this into play say who is gonna pay, they wasn't alive then. Does anybody out there have a plan for how to get these folks? Because I don't think they're denying that they want to pay something. They just said that they don't want to pay.
That's HR 40 is going to work out.
Even if it's not HR 40, whatever plan goes out. My concern is that even if we are approaching the government or whatever government, and they're making the most comments that they're making is, okay, well, we wasn't alive, we shouldn't be responsible. They're not denying whether you're black, ADOS, African. They denying any of that. They just said that they don't want to pay.
Because the argument is that they reap the benefits of it. But I got a quick question, and then I'll let y'all go back at it for Shakara. It is a real simple yes/no answer, because like you quote a lot of things that Yvette say when she's referring to Africans, right? But it's kind of funny how people never quote the part where she keeps saying that this is a justice claim. Right, she repeats that constantly, but nobody ever throws that in there. So, in this particular justice claim, just asking, is it better to say American, or is it better to say Africa? I'm talking about just this specific justice claim. Like, what's your answer?
Well, put it this way, I really want to answer your question. It's a beautiful question, but I'm going to answer your question in a bit of a facetious way. And say that I'm not aware that Jews in Germany had to identify as German in order to get reparations.
Okay, that's completely nonsense question because
Can I add this? Can I add
That's a
this
good
part?
answer, brother. That's a very good answer, brother.
Can I add this
Very
part?
good answer, brother.
no,
Can I add this
Because
part?
we know who the people are who were
not.
enslaved. They were Africans.
It is
Plain
not.
and simple.
It is.
I don't know why we're running from that though.
It is
Not
not.
the same argument.
It is not.
No, and I'm broadening it. And I'm broadening it. In any reparations case that I've ever seen, yeah, I don't know, yes, that the people that are making a reparations demand had to identify with the identity of those that enslaved them in order to get reparations from them.
Okay,
No.
wait. Let me say something. The Japanese Americans got reparations through their American citizenship. Again,
that's fine.
the
But they were Japanese Americans.
again, the Japanese Americans got their reparations.
No. Speak
through
on
their
the
American
Jews. We're not talking about the Jews.
Wait, I know, but I'm saying, no, are we trying to do the point, or are we trying to win the argument?
No, we trying to make a point about the Jews. You said nah, you disagree with the point. So
No, the point, the brother said that he doesn't know of anybody who had to identify with blah X in order to get reparations. So I'm offering him information if he's not aware of the the Japanese Americans who utilized their citizenship. It was because of their citizenship that they got their big echo. The back echo. Who utilized their citizenship. It was because of that. I think you got to mute your mic.
Mute your mic, Jet.
Or turn off the YouTube side. Who utilized. Okay, I muted him. If I think you hear me, but no. What I was saying was that the for the Japanese internment, those
everybody mute their mic and let the person who is talking talk, because then what's going to happen is, family, whoever Jet is, bro, can you please mute your mic? All right, not Kush, not God Kush. I'm talking about the other brother Jet. All right, peace and love to you, by the way, and thanks for coming on the panel. All right. Just let whoever is speaking, you know what we do now? We got Wujawu speaking, then let it go in order of who's on the screen. Then Monica, then the brother Jet, then Sosa, then Kush, then Danny, then African Emporium. Do it that way so there's no confusion. Now everybody has a turn. All right, so when Wujawu finish, he's going to mute his mic, and Monica goes, she mute her mic, and then we move on. All right, let's do it in that order so it's orderly. So people are not interrupting. Thank you, brothers.
Yeah, that may work sometimes. I don't know if that can work for this conversation because by the time we go through, because I got specific questions. But anyway, all I was saying just now, because we get kind of all over the place. But all I was saying just now was that the reparations that was received from the Japanese Americans, they received that because of their American citizenship, because of their citizenship. So I just wanted to put that out there. Now on the Jews side, I offer that as an explanation or as an example of people utilizing their citizenship, and it's because of their citizenship that they were able to actually do that and achieve that. And there's a documentary about it, so if you're not familiar with that, it's on YouTube. Look up the Japanese internment and all the information about that. All right,
bro. The Jews receive reparations as a global people, yeah, not as citizens of any one country.
Yeah, I understand that.
And I'm not denying that that in specific places where Jews reside, that there are specific things that are not afforded them because they are citizens of a particular country. That's not what I'm saying. I am saying that all of that takes place within the context of them being Jews. Yes, and so the only equivalence that you could draw between with the Japanese American example is if those Japanese people actually rejected their Japaneseness in order to forward a reparations case. We're not talking about that. They got their reparations as Japanese Americans. Yes, they didn't say, well, you know what, in order to get these reparations from America, let's not identify as Japanese. In fact, we're not Japanese. In fact, we have no connection to Japan. Yeah, they never said that. Yeah, so I don't know why we're trying to.
But understand.
I want to ask you a question, though, bro.
Understand this, brother. Though Japan is a country. Japan is not a continent. So that's number one. And number two. Wait. Hold on. One second, because Japan is a polity, but Japan is a state.
Oh, okay.
Wait. Listen, Japan. I'm just informing you in case you don't know that Japan
All
is
right.
a continent. Wait,
Thanks, bro.
hold up. So
I appreciate it. I appreciate it. So,
Africa is a continent.
for real? We never know that.
Okay, now I know you know that, but I'm emphasizing this because you're making these you be bringing this stuff up, and it's really unnecessary because all I'm saying is that we identify ourselves right now as African American, just like the Japanese identified themselves as Japanese American. So the ADOS is being more specific. That's something new, but we identify ourselves right now currently as African American, brother. And on top of that, the African American here is different. We had to differentiate ourselves from immigrant Americans, people who came over here that would be classified as the flat blackness, because we have this other layer that other black folks come into play and are put into the same pot. But before this reparative justice claim, we have to make that distinction. And so ADOS is a new moniker to that end. But we do identify ourselves as African American. In fact, HR 40, the formal title of it involves the word or the phrase African American.
Yeah, I'm aware that HR 40 does, bro. And I'm really trying to answer your question, your previous question, and I've been trying to understand.
I'm trying to see. Well, okay, because how we started on this vein is that you have a problem with, because you're a Pan-Africanist, you have an interest in what Yvette and Antonio or the leaders are saying in regards to Pan-African, because everything you've been saying is really in defense or in to be apologetic for Pan-Africanism. Like you came on here with that. Yes, I'm saying
I'm engaged in the conversation from a perspective, and so I've declared my perspective whenever I come into a conversation. This. And one of the reasons why I do so, is because I'm aware of the fact that I'm an African from outside of the United States of America, and there is a narrative that is currently being pushed about Africans from the Caribbean. Yeah, you know what I'm saying, and that is my heritage. So I come into the conversation and I declare, one, my heritage, and two, my political allegiance, my political affiliation, so that people understand where I'm coming from. The reason being is because it needs to be understood that the Pan-African movement has been at the forefront of the reparations movement. So there is no issue and no debate around whether Africans in America are due reparations. None whatsoever. There is no desire from any Pan-Africanist, despite what is being pushed, to deny the justice claim of Africans in America. In fact, Pan-Africanists from around the world have worked within Cobra for decades and always understood that the specific agenda of Cobra is to secure reparations for Africans in America. But secondly, the ADOS movement has put forward a narrative. They have directly attacked the Pan-African movement. And so in as much as the ADOS movement attacks the Pan-African movement has a right of reply. Yeah, so it is not me that inserted myself into the conversation. No, the Yvette Carnell and Antonio Moore and other advocates of ADOS, yeah, have from long before Pan-Africanists had anything to say about them, yeah, were waging this attack against Pan-Africanism. So we've just basically began to reply since probably the beginning of this year, and that's that. But I came into this conversation because you yourself made an assessment about Pan-Africanists and the Pan-African narrative on matters of debate between ADOS and Pan-Africanism, and you defined the Pan-Africanist position as emotive, as emotional. Yeah, brother.
Wait. When did I do that?
I don't recall anybody doing that.
Earlier.
When I do that?
Yeah,
Can I make a quick statement?
I'm gonna tell you, when you spoke earlier about the fact that Pan-Africanists are critiquing ADOS and the lack of the use of the term African, and the use of the term American, and basically you said that this is basically, you know, part of the emotional emotive discourse that is taking place. Yeah, you know what I'm saying, in the rear area, because we don't understand basically that this is to do with American jurisprudence, which I don't think the argument that you can substantiate based upon the arguments of Yvette Carnell and Antonio Moore. Yeah, this is, you know, you have to put that argument.
Okay. Hold on, wait 1 second. Let me clarify, because then that's the root of the misunderstanding.
I've heard you many times on this subject, and you use the same language consistently.
Hold up.
To
listen. I'm gonna tell you something that I don't do. I intentionally do not bring up Pan-Africanist. Just like my question to you, I never brought up Pan-Africanist or Pan-Africanism in my question to you. I intentionally avoid bringing that up into my conversations. I intentionally do that. So when I was speaking earlier, wait 1 second. When I was speaking earlier, I was talking about, I specifically said earlier that I was talking about those of us who call ourselves black right now. I used the word flat black. I said among us, we're not on the same page. I said there are those who are among us that are just saying, forget HR 40, forget all that stuff, just cut the check. And you have those who are among us who don't even like the acronym ADOS and so on and so forth. I never talked about Pan-Africanist or Pan-Africanism in what I said earlier.
Bro, I'm not going to debate you on that. The video is here. People can go back and listen. Yeah, both yourself and King Sosa made reference to Pan-Africanism and emotionalism.
I think about Pan-Africanism.
My question was about.
I'm let somebody else speak.
Monica have her terminology now? Can she have her question now? So we can do this in
I was trying to ask you. I'll give.
Yeah, can we do this in the
Hold on, Shakara, hold on 1 second. Let me get my brother Jet in here, because he's been trying to say something. But before that, let me get Monica. Sister Monica, do you want to say something to this?
Oh, I wanted to yield my time to Danny, his phone conversation, because we couldn't hear anything he said.
All right, I'm gonna get to Danny in a second. Don't worry about it. He's gonna get his time.
Treat me like Annie Mile, yo.
All right, Jet. Hey, when Daddy put that picture up, he's going back old school, man. That picture been up for years. All right. Let me get Jet in, because Jet wanted to say something a long time, and we've been blocking you. We've been giving you that ADOS block. Well, go ahead, brother.
Hello?
Get it in, brother.
Sorry, guys. Hold on. I'm just trying to work this computer out.
Is that another brother from the UK?
Hey, Danny, that's illegal
in the building, Jet.
That ain't real weed, bro. That's that fake weed, man. That's that.
Well,
right,
since you came to brother, before you go, I just want to let everybody know. Okay, go ahead, brother. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Danny about to smoke right now.
Yo, they got Alien OG on.
Yeah, respect everybody in the panel. This is Ma'ar Karu, representing from Jet Black TV.
Right.
Don't know if I can be heard, because it's like there's a delay on this system.
You're good, bro. You're good.
Where's the Birmingham representing?
All right, then, cool. So let me just say this then. Representing from the UK, but let me just say this. Respect to Wajaru. I'm not one of them haters there, because I've got his material. And basically what I'm trying to get at is we from the UK, we kind of see ourselves as part of a global movement, especially if you consider yourself Pan-African. So what Shakara is trying to put across, he can put it in better words than me, but what we're trying to get at is just because one slave ship landed in America and another slave ship landed in Jamaica doesn't mean we're not part of the same struggle. And the thing that ADOS kind of does is separate. It kind of puts this division between the all of us. Now, I'm all for putting separate claims, because we all have separate gripes with different institutions, and I'm about that. But what we shouldn't do is have this public conversation where we kind of disrespect each other and bring each other down in the process. So I ain't really got to say much, but that's what I take from all of this. I see a lot of people that identify with America so strongly at the expense of everybody else who's part of the struggle. People that identify with America so strongly that they can't see another black person on another side of the country, another part of the world, involved in the conversation. And I just think that's a bit sad because Marcus Garvey was from Jamaica and he came to America and influenced America so much and influenced the global movement at large so much and put the seeds together for this Pan-African community. So from my point of view, it's kind of bad to kind of disrespect the ancestors that have come and put the work in. I'm saying Marcus Garvey because he's the most notable, but there are other people who wasn't from America, if you want to get into this American identity thing, but we was part of this Black African struggle, and we've come over to America to join the movement in America and to support it in ways. And for us to just in 2019 act like all these people are irrelevant, or all of us are irrelevant, who are from Jamaica, who are from Britain, who are from wherever we are from, we are all part of this struggle. Now, I don't want any of your reparations money, to be honest with you. I don't think we're going to get it. There's not enough money to be going around for everybody to get paid. But I will back you in your endeavors. It's as simple as that. And if you want to have an intellectual discourse in these things, then, you know, we should have these conversations, but you shouldn't be saying to qualify for the conversation, you need to be American, you know? So that's all I want to say. And respect for having me on the panel, Brother Garfield. I want to holler at you. So everybody keep doing it.
I don't think they understand what you just said. You basically said that you don't want their reparations, but we want to support you. So by you saying that I don't want no African and nobody who's not ADOS talking about this, you're drawing a line, a division that don't need to be there because we don't want your money. We just want to support you because as Pan-Africans, we support the struggle everywhere globally. That's all we do as Pan-Africans. But the people who are ADOS say, oh, you're not ADOS, so you shouldn't talk.
Exactly.
If we're not ADOS, stop. If we are not ADOS and we still want to support you, you should be like, you know what? This is for us. This is for the people from the lineage who suffered here in America. And we're like, you know what? We support you. We support you. But for you to go and say, one person saying AIDS and the Haitians brought AIDS here, another person saying, oh, we're taking away your responsibility.
And it makes the global family stronger when it's Americans that have money.
And 3 million immigrants out of 44 million, and then don't make reference to the other 41 million, then you become suspect. Then you allow people like Haven Bullets to make videos and say, how come you don't talk about the 41 million whites, Arabs, or Asians that are actually taking away the automated jobs, the IT jobs, and all that stuff? You don't talk about them when you talk about Black Americans, Black Caribbeans and Black Africans. That is showing us that you are not serious about the reparation movement and our support, because remember, Caribbean Americans do vote too. All right, go ahead. I am King.
Hey, but hold up. Oh,
no, Ujao. Hold on.
I don't think it's gonna work.
I'm gonna let somebody else get in. I'll come back to it. Go ahead.
Mute your mic. Yeah. All right. Hold on a second. We don't go in order, Ujao. Nope. We're gonna go in order. We gotta go in order. I know what he said. I know he called you out. I know that. We gonna get to you.
Time.
Let's get to.
You can't be filibustering and then not let the man respond.
Listen, African Forum, don't do that. Don't do that. Everybody's gonna respond to what the brother just said. Is either you take a note or a mental note, and Wujao got the patience of what I'm saying, patient man ride donkey. So all right. So let me get Shakara in, and then Danny, then African Emporium, then I come back to Wujao. I'm not gonna change. Let's set the tone. Jet, mute your mic so that there's no feedback. So Shakara, go ahead, cause King Sosa skipped himself. Shakara, go for 1 minute. Then after that, Danny got to talk about what he got to talk about, African Emporium, and then we go to Wujao.
All right. So just to say that the reason why we're having this conversation, not because I insert myself into it as an apologist for Pan-Africanism. I am a Pan-Africanist. I don't have to apologize for it. I assert it. But the ADOS leaders have made certain charges against Pan-Africanists and Pan-Africanism. The ADOS leaders have made certain charges against Black immigrants from the Caribbean and Africa to the United States of America. And so in that context, you make certain charges, certain questions have to be asked. But right now, let me just quickly try to address Brother Wujao's question as to what African identity means for Africans in the United States of America, and just use the example of Omowale Malcolm X. in the development of the Organization of Afro-American Unity. And his definition of Afro-American actually included Africans throughout the America. And what he was trying to do, and he was actually dealing with reparations at that time, if you listen to the Ballot on the Bullet speech. But what he was actually trying to do was organize Africans as a unified body for the sake of liberation and self-determination. Now, what I'm realizing, let me answer that more fully and say, one, for that purpose, the term African connected us to a global family. And so it basically made our people not a minority in and amongst a sea of white folks, but a majority in the global context. It allowed our people to operate, or it was designed to allow African people to operate on the global level, politically and economically, globally, in the political sphere. The terminology, if you listen to people like Baba John Henry Clark, an African from America, who talks about identity connecting us to a landmass and a heritage, and that landmass being Africa, yes. And so that there are many things within what I've just said in terms of the Africans from America who affirmed an African identity, what they were organizing for and trying to achieve through that affirmation. It speaks for itself.
Thank you, my brother. All right, mute your mic. Let's get to Danny. Go ahead, Danny.
Mine will be real quick. He kind of spun it back to what I want to talk about, so I just want to add it. What I was saying when you couldn't hear me is this something that people may want to investigate, and I'll briefly say it's called Fraser versus Herskovitz, and this was an argument that took place around the 1940s. E. Franklin Fraser was actually a black man. Melville Herskovitz, some people may know, was a white man. And Fraser's position was, due to the traumatic experience of enslavement, and that we lost our Africanness and we became something unique. Herskovitz, on the other side, was the one to point out the Africanness within our culture. And he leaned on what Lorenzo Dow Turner did as far as his study of the Gullah Geechee and cultures and stuff like that. So what happens is we still have that African in us, but it is, we can't clearly identify it because so much of what we had has been syncretized, right? So even when we look at what I mentioned, like Susu and all these other things, those are African things that we had as far as those benefit societies and those mutual aid societies that we had way before that we came here. So we, this is a great conversation because, hopefully maybe I'll do something on it as well. What makes us African? That's a good question, because what makes us African, once we can dig into that, will show the links with us sitting in Brooklyn, the people sitting in Barbados, and the people sitting in Britain. It's more than a shared experience. We came and we have connectedness to similar cultures and similar bloodlines where where we are. That's all I wanted to say on that, and I'm glad he kind of spun it back to that. But that's a good question. I think Wujao or somebody brought it up. It's like, at this point, what makes us African, and we have to be able to define and articulate it. That's all. That's all. A hush comes over the crowd. And they got Gorilla Glue and Alien OG out here. And y'all saw the garden is working. What y'all need to do is get y'all a garden or something like that and start playing. But that's it. Thank you and good night.
African Emporium, you're up.
My brother Danny, always bringing that fire. All you guys. Again, I want to say peace, power, and profit to the panel. Everybody in the back chat has always come on, humbly greeting everybody first and foremost, because I like to bring that family energy. I don't believe in the confrontation. I believe in the discussion, because that's what this is. It's in the discussion, not so much me against you, us against them, whatever. And I think Ashe family. And so within that, again, even in the midst of a conversation like this, a lot of the talking points will get kind of taken out of context. And so what we're having here is this diametric opposite of understanding exactly what a reparative justice claim is and how you go forth and make that claim. You have to have a definitive stance on who you are coming as the claimant, and then from there you must push that through. So when Brother Wujao made the point about Japanese Americans and not Japanese, that was very specific, and hence how they make their claim towards the U.S. to pay their reparation. Hence, that's how they went for it and they got paid. When the Holocaust victims made theirs, they came under that same banner as Jewish people. Right. So, and my question is to the people that are listening in the back chat and also on the panel. how do Black Americans in America put forth a nomenclature or a claimant status to make sure that they're the ones being honored under this reparative justice claim? Because what we have in other states or countries or whatever, when they make their reparative justice claim, they're using the terminology and the language of the people that they're referring to. And I'm only going to use this point because Brother Garfield brought up the CARICOM thing. I know he's not necessarily for the whole CARICOM thing, but again, that doesn't negate the fact that more majority of the people that's in the Caribbean are for it, because they know it's a claim against the British government to get the reparative justice that's owed to them. And so you have specifics of people within those regions, Antigua, the Bahamas, Barbados, Belize, Dominica, Guyana, Jamaica, St. Kitts and Nevis, St. Lucia, St. Vincent, the Grenadines, the Suriname, Trinidad and Tobago. These are people that are specific in those regions of the Caribbean that we know of today. Not one time did they specify, and also American Africans. Not one time did they also specify also, Africans in West Africa. Either if they migrate up out of there, or Africans that's in the British or UK right now, even if they migrate out of there. They're saying specifically people of what? Caribbean descent or heritage. So they have to make a claimant based upon a specific order of who they are or who they would like to be claimed as. And so that's my question to everybody that's listening. At some point, we have to realize, whether you find it divisive or you don't, we have to have a definitive claimant status in terms of how we're going to go forward with that. So whether you want to use HR 40, but that doesn't classify who we are. That just said the descendants of slaves. So then that makes it's a broad paintbrush of who actually falls underneath that umbrella. If you use ADOS, okay, well they're saying, hey, we're saying people that have a generation lineage of at least two great I think it's two great grand two heritages back from where you are, basically 2 50-year periods. I could put in that terminology. And so that's where I'm saying we have to have a definitive label to go forward to make our claim, because you can't show up and saying I'm Black. You can't show up there saying, okay, I'm just African American. Well, that's a broad paintbrush, because we got all the other people that's in this country who are also considered African American, even though they come from migrant location. And so that's the point of the conversation that I think needs to be stressed. And so that way we don't lose context and make it about Pan-Africans against ADOS, because I'm neither. I know what I am. I'm a global Africanist who has the value to see everybody get what just due to them. So I will also be on the same boat when it comes to CARICOM if I have to. I would say I'll be on the same boat if it comes to British Americans or British citizens going against the UK for theirs, because I realize our goal is to support one another, not get in this tit for tat reality of, well, you said something that's vice about Pan-Africans because you feel like they haven't done enough for Black in this many years. Okay, well there's truth in that, and there's also some falsehood in that too, because there is a time when people had opportunity to make moves and they obviously it got squandered because of historical value or whatever. But at the end of the day, it doesn't negate the fact that everybody is owed something, but everybody has to go through their own individual channel to do that. And it's our best interest to support them, regardless if we with them or don't, or the talking point, because everybody's not going to speak the same language. That's the point I'm trying to get through. Yvette and Tone do not speak for me specifically. Now, I may align myself with some of their agenda initiatives and narratives, but they don't speak for me when it comes to the idea that we're against Pan-Africans because they had done this, that, and the third. No, they still have their place in this too. And so that's my whole thing. So I just want to make sure I put that out there, everybody. Ask that question. How do we definitively put forth a nomenclature or a claimant name brand that make us go forth to get this reparation?
Let me just say this first of all. Mute your mic, African. Okay, I'll put it back. Give me this. Let me put it back. What I'll say to what African Emporium says, they already have the HR 40, and HR 40 classifies folks as African American, so that makes the conversation null and void if we go through with HR 40. The second thing is the people who have a say in HR 40 call us descendants. Hold on, puppy. Descendants of Africans who were enslaved in the United States. And they use the term enslaved because when they found them, they were not slaves. So they said, whenever you classify anybody in America, that's a problem when you say you're an American descendant of slaves or slavery. You should not use that term. You should use enslaved. All right. That was one of the problems Cobra had when they were reaching out to ADOS. They couldn't agree on that one little point of enslaved and slave. All right. Another point you made about the CARICOM, a lot of people don't agree with the CARICOM, what you call it, but because you're not in that circle, you wouldn't realize. CARICOM does not, the reparations, and if you read it, number 10, does not go back to the people who were actually enslaved. It goes towards the country. So that's why a lot of people don't agree with the CARICOM reparations, like myself. So if you feel that Garfield is against ADOS reparations, I'm not against it. I'm against what the CARICOM is pushing, is that they're pushing for monetary stuff, but the monetary stuff going to programs that sometimes don't benefit the descendants, like the people who actually need the help in the country. So that's why whether it's Trinidad, whether it's wherever on the British or whatever, it doesn't matter. The programs normally don't end up going towards the people. So that's why there's a problem with a lot of people against the CARICOM reparations movement, just for the record. All right. Secondly, as far as us, I don't have a problem with the term African Americans being used. I think that's a fair, it's a fair assessment. All right. But anyway, let's move on to Wujao, because I know he has to respond to what the brother Jet said earlier. And go ahead, my brother Wujao.
And I'll end right there. I just want to address the one.
No.
It's not. I just want to say something about.
I know, but let's just go in order, bro. Come on, man.
Brother, it's not that serious. I'm just saying, it's not to you. It's not to you. I'm just saying.
I know, but we can't break the cipher.
I'm not going to break it. I just want to say one thing and end that. I actually question. I'm not posing the definitive side.
African Emporium.
Let me misinterpreting me. I'm asking.
Oh, man, can you wait until it's your turn again, bro?
Yes, but I'm just saying. Let me.
Man.
I'm asking,
bro. You spoke for 7 minutes.
Filibuster in and out. I just want to ask one question, so I'll be clear.
Oh, people are always gonna do that.
You still doing the same thing. You keep cutting off, and I want to just ask the question. Let me ask the question, brother. If I can be clear.
Man, you spoke for 7 minutes.
Brother Garfield,
bro,
let me just go. You going back to where you was before with this thing just coming at me. I'm just making a point to be clear so y'all can hear what I'm saying. That's my point. But you just keep want to talk over me. Again, I don't know where you get this from. I'm just making a simple point. I'm just specifying a question. I'm not for or against either side.
Well, Jai, go ahead, man. I'm not doing that, bro. I'm not doing that. Nope.
Okay, so yeah, this is difficult doing it this way though, because there's several points that was made that I would like to address, and I don't see how this is really gonna pan out. But let me just address and get this out real quick. Then, so I'm gonna go in order because although I can write everything down and I wrote everything down, but you know it gets tricky. So anyway, let's try it. So first I want to say I'll go backwards. Danny had brought up a good point about our Africanness, you know, that fact that we didn't lose it and so on and so forth. But I don't want to misconstrue what I had asked or what I brought up. You know, my question was not what makes us African. That wasn't my question. My question is specifically identifying, using that as an identity, the identity of African and the benefit of that identity, and to make that proclamation of that identity. How does that benefit us in specifically in this reparative justice claim? That was my question. And I asked the brother to relate it to this reparative justice claim. Outside of reparative justice claim, I don't have to ask the question. I would strike the question, period. So I'm only talking about this reparative justice claim. And I think that King Sosa hinted to that because that's the whole point. And I think African Emporium also hinted to that because you have to identify the claimants of a reparative justice claim. And so the African identity, my question is, how does that benefit in regards to that? That was my question. So I want to clarify that. And then another thing that was said earlier was that, you know, ADOS doesn't want non-ADOS to talk about this reparations or all this other kind of stuff. And I think that was a gross generalization, and it's just untrue, because even with many people in the ADOS, they understand the concept of allies. It's been said in the Facebook group of ADOS. It's been said on the videos with Antonio Moore and Yvette Carnell. They repeat it over and over again about allies and so on and so forth. It's not about non-ADOS people not having a conversation or not even being allies with this justice claim. It is the fact that people are trying to speak on behalf of ADOS who are not ADOS, and even so, even speaking against it or speaking wrongly and mischaracterizing it, and they're messing it up. So it's in a sense of people are speaking up because they are in positions and they have found themselves in opportunities and doors that have opened, cameras in their face, and so on and so forth, and they're talking because of that. But they're messing up. They're not representing correctly. So they're being criticized and so on for that. And some of them happen to be non-ADOS, and the media will flock to that. And so that's being spoken about in that particular context. It's not the fact that they can't, or we can't have this conversation with non-ADOS people and so on and so forth. That hasn't been said. So what I wanted to get to is the fact that this is a reparative justice claim, because also earlier was said is that the African identity that was explained so far is declaring your African identity in order to tap into a global struggle. And so it was mentioned earlier that a slave ship goes to location X and a slave ship goes to location Y. It doesn't make the two different, or we're still part of the same struggle. I don't think anybody in their right mind would deny that. But in terms of this specific reparative justice claim that we are actually dealing with here in the United States, we have to make a distinction. So if you, we're all coming from the continent west coast of Africa and in the various different countries there. But if you do not share in this same legacy, in this same inherited legacy, and has gone through this experience here, which is why this reparative justice claim is being made in the first place, then you're not inclusive. You got to understand that with all these claims, there's an inclusion and exclusionary statement or criteria for that. What's included and what's not included, who has standing, who doesn't have standing. This is just a matter of civics, a matter of law and politics. It has to be this way. So the global struggle is not going to work for this particular reparative justice claim. It does not work that way. All right. And that's what people are going to have to understand. Let me see, what else did I write down? And in terms of me saying that the brother
Shakara.
Yeah, Shakara being apologetic. I was saying when he came on to the panel, because he said that I said some things that I didn't say. And so to clarify for the brother, earlier, I was saying that we have people like Tariq Nasheed, we got other people that are saying things. I was talking about the pros and cons of ADOS being what it is, a political and educational advocacy movement. By not being a structured organization, there's pros and cons with that. And I was explaining the cons, and I was saying that people in the flat blackness who declare themselves as black and whatnot, who talk about these things, everybody's not on the same page. And so I was talking about people are getting emotional and things, or people had a problem with even the acronym ADOS. I made mention of the acronym and why it was there and stuff like that. But I purposely leave out Pan-Africanism and Pan-Africanist in my conversations. I do that purposely. So I was saying that when you came on the panel, I was saying apologetic. But what I meant by that is that I understand, because that's your, like you said, your heritage or your political anchor, that you are speaking in a reply mode to the attacks on it, but nobody on the panel here has attacked it. So what I was saying is it's almost like you coming on as a salesman for Pan-Africanism, because your first question to us is who's here a Pan-African, and none of us here is like, okay, well, let me proselytize or whatever. But I'm saying that jokingly now, but that's what I meant by apologetic. So, and I get it, but the thing is, you always got to come back to this reparative justice claim specifically. And so your answer to me about the African identity so far, now I'm sure if we get back around to you, you can clarify. So far, what I got from that is that you said that the identity of being an African only has credence through Pan-Africanism. And that's the way you said it. Now, you didn't say it specifically or verbatim, but that's what I got from what you were saying. And so that's what I needed clarification on. So then I followed up with, well, specifically for this reparative justice claim, what does declaring themselves as an African, as an identity, going to do? Or how does it benefit in terms of this reparative justice claim? Because like my identity here, I'm a citizen of the state of Georgia in the United States. I have a Georgia ID. So if I identify myself as a Georgian, I'm only going to do it if it benefits me for some end. Like what's the end game of me doing that? Otherwise, I don't have to do that. So in the context, that's what I'm asking. To identify as an African in regards to this reparative justice claim, what is it going to do? And so I'll leave it right there. I have more, but I don't want to hog it up too much.
Hey, thank you, Wujao, for responding to everything that Shakara and whoever made. Your brother Jet, actually, you responded to him also. All right, let's move on to Sister Monica. Sister Monica, go ahead. You have anything you want to add in?
No. Because
right.
what I have to add, it don't, everybody just speaking on classification, and I'm more concerned about that once it does
Actual
happen.
programs, right.
Can we, what do we, how are we going to address that? And I think that's why our programs always get used by other classification of people, because we don't know what to do once the government fold out things in a certain way. So.
Sleep on the phone. Don't move. All right, thank you, Mo. Hold on, Andrew. Let's get to Jet. Let's get back to Jet and African Emporium. Listen, African Emporium. If you notice, I made Wujao talk. Let him let it all out, just like you. And if I had a response, I would have responded to Wujao. But I pretty much he ain't saying nothing that I disagree with or needed clarity. All right,
skipping me, Garfield.
It's your turn, Jet. Let's go.
You skipping me, Garfield.
King Sosa, hold on, King Sosa.
All right, thank you for that, Garfield. All I want to say now, I've got a few points I've just written down, but I'm going to try and keep them short and sweet.
Oh, he can't hear me. All right, Javen Bullets after that, then King Sosa, you got it, then Chakara. All right.
All right, thank you. There is a delay, so try and bear with me, please. What I'm trying to say here is now, when I personally use the term Pan-Africanism or use the term Africa to identify myself, let me just dispel some of the original issues, because people say Africa is not a country, it's a continent, and blah blah blah. Now I believe in a principle called self-determination, known as Kuji Jagalia, if I'm not mistaken. So you can create your own name, define that name for your own means and ends, and establish a global nation, because that's what I believe we need. Now, we did ask the question, what does Pan-Africanism have to do, or what does Pan-Africanism have to do with ADOS, or how is it going to benefit ADOS? And a short way of putting this for me is it just makes you part of a bigger family, part of a global family, where I believe you'd get more respect. And it's sort of like if you're the small man and you're trying to complain against a multinational company, the multinational company is gonna win every single time, because they have things set up in a bigger way. Basically, it's gonna overwhelm you. Now, if you look at white supremacy, although the institution of white supremacy, so these, whether that be the Church of England, whether that be the rum companies, whether that be whatever these companies are and organizations are. Now, although they were individual, they were all linked under this white supremacy. They all knew what time it was, basically. And that's where I get disappointed that we don't know what time it is in 2019. We're supposed to know that we're supposed to stick together, because we are all descendants of slavery, not just American descendants of slavery. We are all descendants of slavery. And I think, Brother Wujaru, I know you're saying I'm probably answering the wrong question, but I just want to get this off my chest, because it's more not what can Pan-African do to benefit ADOS, or how would that identity benefit ADOS, but what harm will it do to ADOS? That is more my stance. What's the harm in using your brothers and sisters across the globe to stand in unity against white supremacy and put together the best argument, pulling together information from all over. Remember, the slave trade was an international trade. It wasn't just a trade that took part on one place. And at the time, in its origins, America was a British colony. So all this stuff is all linked up one way or another. And until we link up in one way or another, I just see us all getting divided, fighting for our own little scraps and our own little crumbs. But just remember this one thing: you can only get your reparations once. So once you've had your money, that's your lot. So if you play your cards wrong and you get a few crumbs, that's your lot. You get what I mean? Whereas if we come together properly and put a proper claim together and ask for the real reparations, because I don't think there's enough money in this world to pay out to any of us. It's got to be, we want water pipes, we want train stations, we want airports, we want infrastructure as part of our reparations. And then we want, that's what we want. But I'll leave it there. That's all the points I wanted to make. Sorry, you also said your identity is with Georgia or something like that. And I mean disrespectful, Wujawu, but your ID is just a way of navigating through the system that you are in. It's not necessarily who you are as a person. And I think that's what Shakara was trying to get to when he was trying to say that although we are British as national, I've got the British passport, I don't see myself as British. And, I've not been embraced by the country of Britain or whatever. So I see myself as an African, a Pan-African in particular. Thank you for letting me share my views. Peace and one love. And shameless plug, onenationeducation.co.uk. Please, family, check it out. Free ebooks.
Very shameless. Yeah. All right, Jet, thank you. Haven Bullets, you're up. No cursing, brother. You're up.
All right.
Cursing. Jet, mute your mic. Hold on. Jet, you got to Jet, got to mute. Hold on there before you speak, Haven. Jet, you got to mute. If I mute you, you're not going to be able to unmute. All right, cool. All right. Haven Bullets, you up, brother. No cursing. Let's go. Let's get it.
I got you, Garfield. I got you. I've been trying to keep it that way for you on my videos, but I'm going to definitely keep it that way right here. One, I would like to say that the whole concept of we need to reclassify ourselves to get reparations is pretty much a non-starter because, one, everybody knows that the only people who are going to be getting reparations is the people who have a connection to slavery in America. I don't see no group of Jamaicans walking around claiming that they need to get a check or get some type of benefit. I don't see no Ethiopians doing that. It doesn't make any sense. Second, that is addressed in the thing because they said African Americans who are the descendants of those who were enslaved. That already addresses who gonna get and who not gonna get, as far as if we was gonna get a reparations check. So that issue is already addressed. Third, the reason why people keep coming up with this reclassification thing, which you don't need to do, because we're gonna bring it to the Japanese. When the Japanese got reparations for internment camps, there were 3 groups of Japanese in America at that time. Those who had came here after World War II, those who were here during World War II who ended up in internment camps, and those who were here during World War II who didn't end up in internment camps. When they paid reparations to them, they didn't make a mistake and give it to somebody who wasn't in an internment camp. The people who was in internment camp didn't have to create a whole new identity for themselves called descendants of internment camps and say we need to have our separate own category where we go fill out paperwork. It says Asian American, Japanese American, descendant of internment camps. They didn't say we needed to do that, and you don't need to do that. The reason why we have that confusion is because before they was talking about reparations, like I said, Yvette and Carnell and them, this movement is 2 years old, even older, before the reparations talk even came about. They was already preaching that they wanted to have Black people in America to have separate and distinct identities and classifications. That's what they was pushing. And that's what, if you look at the Black agenda, that's the first thing on the list. And they've been pushing this for years. That's why when people heard them say it, and when the reparations conversation started, which they didn't start, Tariq was the one who started it, and they jumped on his bandwagon. People started saying, well, why are you trying to cause this division? And they started putting it off like, oh, we got to do this because if we don't do this, we're not going to be able to get reparations. The government is not going to know who is who, which is not true. This is a part of a bigger plan. And it hurt me that when people try to explain this, people keep talking about reparations. Because again, the beef people have with the ADOS movement is not about reparations. It's about the anti-black immigrant talking points. It's about this trying to cause separation between people, which was going on before the whole reparations conversation even started. Like I done showed you receipt after receipt of people years ago. Tone talks over a year ago talking about how he don't consider people who have one quote unquote African American parent, African American as in connected to slavery in this country, and if you have another black parent from somewhere else, he don't consider you our people. But in that same video, he's talking about how white people and black people, we got the same culture, and we need to create a group not around racial lines, but around cultural lines, which is saying that we need to look at white people as our saint, as the same as us, while looking at other black people as different. I already got the other video where he called people who have an African or a Caribbean parent, said they biracials. They should be looked at and treated as biracials and not considered a part of our people. Well, that's pretty much all I wanted to say. Like, again, this whole concept of we need to create new super groups just to get some reparations is nonsense. You don't need to do that. Two, the reason why people even think that is because Yvette Carnell was promoting that, but they've been promoting that for a long time for just the sole purpose to cause division. Remember, Yvette works for white nationalists. And I'm going to leave it right there.
Who's next? I think, brother. You can speak as long as you want, brother, because we skipped you already. So go ahead, man. The floor is yours, brother.
I'm gonna be real concise. I'm not really
going to be known. I'm making people speak freely. I'm not cutting off anybody, and you see how orderly it is. Everybody get to speak their mind. I do understand the back and forth, but sometimes when we do the back and forth, you lose the fact that other people are on the panel. So if anybody is really serious, do like what Wujawa did. Wujawa took notes. He took notes, so when it came around to him, because he wants to make sure whatever he's saying, he addresses each person and make sure he's well understood. So he decided to take notes, which is good. We all should take notes. All right? All right, go ahead, my brother. Peace and love. Go ahead.
All right, yeah, I'm gonna be real concise anyway. Because African Emporium, I think did a really good job of explaining it. Wujawa double down on it. And the reason I brought up the conversation, the elephant in the room, is to address specific gripes about the confusion with black immigrants, ADOS immigrants, or African American, however you want to label it. But it's like a lot of people aren't really able to have the conversation. Like, they don't know why they're separating the numbers. Like, because that's the conversation that's not being had. It's kind of shifted towards Pan-Africanism, and I know in the beginning I didn't bring up Pan-Africanism because when we're dealing with this particular subject, it's not a Pan-Africanist conversation, and the reason it's not a Pan-Africanist conversation is because the justice claim that's being made right now is not a global claim. It's a specific claim. So when you're dealing with specificity, it's not Pan-Africanism by default, because we're only talking about a specific group of descendants of slavery in America. So that's why when you throw Pan-Africanism in it, it gets convoluted, and then you say, well, what about the people in other areas? And then the conversation goes all kind of sideways. You know what I'm saying? But so that was my whole point. And it just, well, the things being missed when we have a conversation, a lot of people don't understand why the separation. Like, why are they pointing out that Nigerians come over with scholarships and they do better? Like, why are they using that for example? And what they're saying is that we don't mind that they do better. That's great that they do better. But if they're including their numbers in with the descendants of slavery here, and it's making us look like we're doing better than we actually are. So that's why these arguments are being made up. And then two, if you're Jamaican, and you would feel better having a Jamaican represent you because they have a better understanding of Jamaica than I do. So if I tried, even though I might know the history of Jamaica, if I speak for Jamaica and I didn't live there, then there might be I might not get it right. I might not see certain things that you see. My interest might not be the same as yours. So that's why sometimes they're drawing a line and saying, okay, that person's not ADOS. Look at their viewpoints. Like, because sometimes in order to understand a situation, you really have to live it. You have to be a descendant of it. You have to have generations that go through it. And that's all I'm saying, Garfield. That you
don't
go ahead and
but I got to get off the air in 10 minutes. I don't know if Sister Monica is near a computer that could take over. I don't mind leaving the show open. So if
okay, well, I'm done though. I'm done.
If she can take over, I mean, I'll keep the show running for another 2 hours. I don't care. But let me just say, I got to shut down in 10 minutes. Shakara, you could go ahead. And I don't know, if Sister Mo is available to take the show over, I could leave the show running. I don't have a problem. If you guys want to do another hour, it's fine with me. I just got to drop. I got to go to a doctor's appointment, and I'll come back in like an hour and close the show out. But that's about it. I mean, but Shakara, go ahead. Go ahead, man. Take your time and do your thing.
All right. Yeah, I've got to go see myself. So
Sister Mo. Oh, and by the way, King Sosa, I just want to say that by injecting that Nigerians is propping up, I don't think 3 million Caribbean people are propping up anything that 50 million Black Americans or ADOS are doing. That is just nuts. And if you look at what the other immigrants are doing, the Mexicans, which have a lot to do with the wealth gap because of cheap labor, they are a bigger problem because you have 11 million Mexicans who are trying to be legalized in this country. You have white folks from other countries. You got Arabs. You got the Asian people from Indonesia, China, Japan coming over and taking these tech jobs from Americans, not only African Americans, but Americans. So that's what they need to focus on. The Caribbean, the Nigerian is irrelevant. Their numbers don't do nothing against African Americans or ADOS. So that's a farce. All right, but go ahead, Shakara.
Yeah, I was actually gonna touch on that point, but I'll do that in a sec. I don't even have a lot of time myself, so I've got a duck soon for some movements. But just to respond to some of the points, first of all, on the CARICOM reparations claim, because this thing has been brought up as a kind of, got ya kind of argument where, the CARICOM reparations claim doesn't mention African Americans or whatever, blah, 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 blah. One of the things, now, I totally harmonize with what Brother Garfield has said earlier in terms of the CARICOM reparations claim. This idea as well that that the University of Glasgow, the University of the West Indies some money and call it reparations is absolute nonsense, and it's a betrayal of the reparations movement in the Caribbean, which did not begin with CARICOM, I might add, because CARICOM is the body that is made up of the governments of the Caribbean, not the people of the Caribbean. But having said that, when we're talking about how the people are referred to on the CARICOM reparations claim, nobody's referred to as Caribbean people, and so related to what Brother Wujah was saying earlier, the Caribbean is not a country or a political entity that has citizenship. Yeah? There are no Caribbean citizens. Yeah, throughout the CARICOM documentation, terms like African descendants, people of African descent are used. The Caribbean is only used to refer to a region, yeah, and then other times the term African is used. So I just want to make that point clear. There is no reparations for Caribbean people, yeah. I think I've already answered this question about what does African identity do, but just to say that any identity serves the people in as much as the people invest and produce out of that identity. Yeah. So the question really is, what is being sought, yeah, by this identification with American? And I want to make it clear, we are not just talking about the identification of American. We are talking about the rejection, the expressed rejection of African identity. And I realize and I'm noticing that people are not actually wanting to deal with that. Yeah, but we are seeing destructive ideas and ideals being associated with African identity and the promotion of the idea that Black people in America should disassociate themselves from Africa and African identity expressly. Yeah, okay. And I notice that people are addressing that. What's it called? So you have to have the ID, yeah? The identity, specific identity for the claimants, all right? again, using the Jewish example, there was no national recognized polity. There was no Jewish land. Yeah, what's it called? When these Jews went through the Holocaust. In fact, they created Israel as a Jewish land as a perverted form, and I'm going to say a perverted form of reparations because of the injustice that was done to the people of that area in the creation of that land. Yeah, but the creation of the land known as Israel was intended to be a form of reparations to protect the Jewish people from what they had suffered. Yeah, so it didn't need for there to be a polity or a citizenship, you know, specific to any country, existing country on the earth at that time, for a justice claim to be made on behalf of these people. They understood that they were a global people and they went for justice as a global people. The point is that that is possible. Yeah. So if we want to invest in an African identity and pursue political economic agenda as a part of the African identity, there is nothing stopping us from doing so except for an anti-African agenda that is being pushed by a political organization that calls itself American and American First. Yeah. The other thing that needs to be noted here is that one of the destructive ideas that is being associated with Africa and Africans is the idea that Africans sold us into slavery. And so it needs to be noted that this is an idea that the reparations movement for decades and generations has fought against, because it was one of the key cards, the key tools that was used by European imperialists in order to duck responsibility for serving reparations that you were sending your own people. And this was what a thing that basically by the early 2000s, the international global movement for reparations, and I'm talking about global now because there was a conference called the Conference of Africans and African Descendants against slavery and that kind of different thing that was held in Barbados in 2002. Yeah, and this is one of the issues that was on the table in terms of this whole Africans sold Africans into slavery narrative, and the Pan-African movement for reparations has dealt with that issue and battled with that issue, and certain moves have been made to address it internally because there's such a thing called internal reparations among us. What happened was a man by the name of Henry Louis Gates was put forward to kind of flag up the flames of this again under the guise of being a historian, and brought some new quote unquote data to like about Africans sending Africans into slavery, and this whole issue burst up again. But the key issue is, and this relates to what Sister Monica was saying earlier, the reparations, the justice, how reparations manifest itself is based upon the ideas that inform the claim that is being made. So if the idea is that Africans sold Africans into slavery, how do we then relate to our brothers and sisters on the African continent who are also victims of enslavement? You don't go to a people's nation and rob and pillage and kill and murder their people and then just define those people as beneficiaries of the system of your murder, pillaging, robbery, rape, and enslavement. It doesn't make any sense. African nations were impoverished as a result of slavery in terms of people and resources, and then we're dealing with what follows slavery in terms of colonization and the many invasions that facilitated the colonization process. So if we are there now charging Africans with being beneficiaries of enslavement, then it opens the way, yeah, and this has been suggested by both Yvette Carnell and Antonio Moore, that in fact Antonio Moore said words to the effect that if the American government wants to broaden the net in terms of all parties that are culpable, then they're allowed. Then they can do that. They can charge brothers and sisters on the continent with being culpable in the enslavement of African people in the West, so to speak. Yeah, and so now we're being asked as African people in the West to go along with that agenda. What does it mean? How do we then relate to Africa as a continent and our brothers and sisters on the continent if we sanction the idea that Africans sold Africans into slavery as a part of a reparatory justice claim? We have to ask that question. It's a fundamental question. It's not a peripheral question. It's fundamental. Yeah. I never said, by the way, that the only way that African identity has credence is through Pan-Africanism. What I said was, I'm a Pan-Africanist. That's what I bring to it. I also said that African identity is a fact of life. Yeah, so whether one wants to accept the Africanist or not, it is a fact. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? You do yourself a disservice by not identifying with it. But the fact of the matter is, the people that have defined ADOS rhetoric have gone out of their way. Yeah, nobody now put this to them. This is what they put forward themselves proactively.
All
have
right,
gone
bro,
out.
I'm gonna stop you there. Stop you there, beloved. Hey Mo, are you there, Mo?
I'm here.
Can you? Where you at? You at work or are you on the road? What are you doing?
Nah, I'm sitting at the computer. Let me see if I can log on.
All right. If you can log on or not, but I'm gonna let Wujao close out because he's gonna respond to all of that.
Give me 2 minutes just to finish this thing, bro, please.
All right. Hold on a second. Before you go on, I gotta make sure that Mo could log in first and take over, and I'll let the show run. All right. I'm gonna mute my mic and y'all do it in order, man. All right. Peace and love.
No problem. Yeah.
All right.
I'm gonna be going to you in about 5-10 minutes anyway. So yeah, y'all can take over. All right. Yeah. What was I saying? Yeah. So it's a fact of life, right? But the people that have defined ADOS ideology have gone out of their way to, one, attack Pan-Africanism, and two, to reject African identity. We are asking the question, why? What is the purpose of doing this? Using the state. Now, I'm not trying to the word apologetic was used earlier. Yeah, an apologist, sorry. I'm not trying to be an apologist for ADOS leaders by giving them arguments that they don't make themselves. I'm using their own arguments to assess why it is they are rejecting African identity. Yeah. All right. Finally, people that have an African-centered consciousness in whatever way, shape, or form have to overlook and deny a lot, and tend to, in relation to trying to assert and affirm and defend ADOS rhetoric. Yeah. And I want to say that I've been and observed conversations with brothers before, and everybody will know, if you follow this conversation, that there has been this specific attack against Pan-Africanism coming from the ADOS movement. And I dare say that Brother Wujao has made statements that support ADOS in attacking Pan-Africanism. Categorically, I'm saying that. So the idea that he doesn't bring up Pan-Africanism, I'm not sure. I don't know why he's saying that. But again, for those who want to hear what was said earlier, y'all can do that. Yeah. Rewind the tape when it's done and do that. Yeah. But claims as a part of the ADOS rhetoric are being made against Africans on the continent, Africans in the Caribbean, and Africans from the continent and the Caribbean that migrate to the United States of America. This is a movement that claims to have data. And I am confused. I've been asking since the beginning of this year for people to bring me evidence of the fact that Africans from the continent and the Caribbean are disenfranchising ADOS, quote unquote, via affirmative action, because this is a claim that is being made, that people are coming to America, trafficking off the lineage, quote unquote, of African Americans and taking the benefits of African Americans. If Yvette Carnell says, so you can, having sold me, you can come and take what was the affirmative action and all the stuff that was built to make me whole. You sold me here, and you took the stuff that was intended to make me whole. And then you whisper to white people behind my back how I just don't understand. I'm just not good enough because, X, Y, Z. I'm just not what I need to be. I don't deserve reparations. This is good enough. It's and so on and so forth. Yeah, it's a con game. This woman has put out the charge that Africans from the Caribbean and the continent have come and are directly organized to disenfranchise Black Americans and also tell white Americans, that Black Americans don't deserve reparations. Where is the evidence for this? Where are the numbers that speak to the fact that jobs and university placements, that could be going to ADOS, are not going to ADOS because they're going to Africans from the Caribbean and Africa? The issue has been made of Barack Obama not representing Black people in America because he's not ADOS, because he's Kenyan, and other politicians from America have been charged similarly because their parents or whatever are not considered ADOS. Where are the numbers? Where is the data to show that politicians in America vote differently or have different policies based upon whether they are ADOS or not? Where is the evidence that ADOS politicians in America serve the interests of African people in America more than politicians who are not considered ADOS? Where's the numbers for that? Where are the numbers for the fact that 3 to 5 million black immigrants, yeah, are appreciably doing better across the country, yeah, than 40 odd million, yeah, black? Where is the evidence for, where's the numbers for these things? Where are the numbers? And I'm using this example now because Yvette Antone actually sanctioned Tariq Nasheed as a legitimate voice, yeah, of ADOS. Where is the evidence for the idea that black immigrants are bringing AIDS, yeah, to black American neighborhoods and inflating the statistics of AIDS representation among black Americans? And if the evidence is not there, how is it that this is not an issue that brothers and sisters see as relevant? Why is this not relevant to be challenged? But no, people that challenge, these are statements that are being made by ADOS. And when you challenge those statements, people tell you that you're attacking the ADOS movement. Yeah, no.
Okay, so now you have to pass the mic, so your time is going to be up. Sable John, go ahead.
Okay, so all right, let me just, I got to back up because I think start with what Javen Bullet said. Well, let me make one statement that's going to cover everybody, but then I want to go through the specifics real quick, and I'll be as short as I can. One statement I would like to make categorically or across the board for those who are listening, I would recommend and suggest that you take the time out, that if you want to know what Antonio Moore says and what Yvette Carnell say in the context in which they say it, and in the layered context in which they say what they say, then go check out their channel. It's going to be hard because they have a whole lot of video. At least Yvette Carnell. Yvette does a show twice a week, and she's been doing that for quite some time. So her archive channel, her videos on her archive is a whole lot. So, you know, but take the time out to go and watch what is said and watch many videos, because a lot of things are explained, revisited, and so on and so forth. Because it's been my experience that people will take sound bites and take things out of context, or they don't go and see the fuller explanation or see when it's revisited or see the bigger context in which things have been said. So I've been dealing with that for a while. So that's what I just suggest. So I'm not going to address or defend what they say, because they do a good job themselves. All right. So back to Javen Bullets though. He had basically in all that he said, he took issue with the name, the reclassification of the name American Descendants of Slavery. And he was saying that that's basically unnecessary. And he used the analogy or the comparison with Japanese Americans and how Japanese Americans didn't have a need to reclassify themselves. That is not a valid, comparison, because of blacks in America in terms of the racial construct, the social construct of race, and the different monikers that we have been identified with exonymically, meaning other people have called us and then we have adopted ourselves, and the changes and so on and so forth. And it's completely different circumstances between the Japanese Americans in that regard with what we call ourselves today, African Americans. So to kind of make that comparison, it's not really a fair comparison. And ADOS as a reclassification, as pointed out, is simply being very specific. That's it. As people know, the HR 40 still says African American. And if anybody watches Yvette and Antonio's videos and everything, you'll see where they interchange the two words quite often. All right. So the American Descendants of Slavery is to be more specific and it deals with lineage. The whole thrust with that is lineage. You know, the fact that we are Americans through our citizenship, and the fact that we are lineal descendants of a victim of the institution of slavery and all of its vestiges. And there's a time frame from, I believe, 1619 all the way to 1956. Don't quote me on that, but you can go look it up because it's spelled out. All right. So, but I don't think there's nothing really too much more to say about that. If people have a problem with the acronym ADOS, don't use it, and just keep it pushing, because it's really about the agenda and you know, the goal of the reparative justice claim. All right. But with that, we have to understand that the claimants themselves have to be able to be identified. All right. So now I'm moving to I believe, I did go out of turn. The brother Jet, you yeah, I just want to clarify what you were answering was not my question, because I don't bring up Pan-Africanism or Pan-Africanness purposely. If I ever mention it, it'll be because somebody else is talking about it or may ask me a question about it, but I don't deal with it. I purposely avoid that. Like I consciously and purposely avoid that. Now, the brother Shakara made an accusation a little while ago. I would like to see some video clips or whatever where you say, where you're accusing me, where I support, you said categorically, whatever, I support the hate or whatever you said, paraphrasing, against Pan-Africanism or whatever the case is. I would like to see that.
Go to that now?
No. Oh yeah. You can do that now. But if you have to leave, if we're going in turn, you could definitely do that now. All right.
It's very quick. It's very quick. I can do it now. What's it called? You're a member of the group American Descendants of Slavery on Facebook, right?
Yes, I am.
But by the way, what I said was nobody can deny that ADOS has attacked Pan-Africanism and that there are many who are supporting that. And I dare say that Brother Ojao has supported attacks against Pan-Africanism in defense of ADOS. I said that specifically. Yeah. One of the things, so in the group, bro, did you not make this post, bullet point 1, in the ADOS Black Agenda, in the ADOS Black Agenda, is supported by Dr. Khalid Mohammed, Malcolm X, and Dr. Julia Hare. The Pan-Africanist adversarial arguments are moot. The pessimism must end or get out of the way. Is that, am I quoting you correctly?
You sure are. So explain to me how is that now? Repeat what you accused me of, though.
Yeah, what I said was that nobody can deny, that the that ADOS has attacked Pan-Africanism, and I'm saying that you have supported ADOS attacks against Pan-Africanism.
Okay, so explain to me how what you just read, and you did quote me correctly. Explain to me how that is an attack.
By the way, there's another one that you made in your own group, the Amin Ra Squad, which was a bit of a flippant statement, and I'm paraphrasing off the top of my head at the moment, but it related to Pan-Africanists.
Well, one at a time.
One second. Pan-African.
I was a bit of a build.
How are you Pan-African and paying taxes to the American government or something like that? Which is obviously, you know, an attempt to ridicule. So yeah, it's a flippant statement, and ha, it's a joke, but it's obviously an attempt to ridicule.
Okay. So wait, one at a time, because you gotta slow this down. So what I want you to do is the first one that you quoted from me. Explain to me how that is in support of attacking Pan-Africanism. The one that you read before.
First of all, the support can be tacit or expressed. I have put to you before the fact that ADOS are making many fallacious statements about Pan-Africanism, and you don't seem to be concerned about that. But one could interpret that as tacit support. At the same time, coming back to this specific statement, evidently you are looking at Pan-Africanist critiques of ADOS, and this statement here says what you said was, you know, you don't bring up Pan-Africanism. Yeah, I'm saying categorically here, this is your own post. You're not responding to anything. You posted this about Pan-Africanism, and you said the Pan-Africanist adversarial arguments are moot. Yeah, using Khalid Mohammed, Malcolm X, and Julia Hare as examples. In another post, you used Amos Wilson, and I took issue with that. So the attack is twofold. One is this blanket adversarial condemnation of muteness, yeah, against the Pan-African critiques of ADOS rhetoric. This is a defense of ADOS attacks against Pan-Africanism. Yes, one, that the second aspect of that is the use of noted Pan-Africanist leading lights, yeah, in order to justify the argument, knowing that the issue that the major issue that Pan-Africanists have taken against ADOS leaders is the attack, yeah, against black immigrants, people from the continent, Africans from the continent, and the Caribbean. And so this conflation, yeah, because of the fact that some of them talk about immigrants as and trying to lump in the idea of black immigrants with their use of the term immigrant, when there are aspects of their legacies that would definitely, yeah, bear out the fact that when they talk about Africans from the continent and Africa, they're speaking in terms of unity. They don't lump in Africans from the continent and the Caribbean in with this generic term of immigrants. That's not done by Amos Wilson. I can show you evidence of that clearly, yeah, throughout, for example, Blueprint for Black Power. So the idea that we're going to mischaracterize the legacies of our Pan-Africanists, and the fact of the matter is these people are used specifically because of their Pan-African credentials, yeah, that to me is a disingenuous attack.
Okay, so I'm still waiting to know what that statement is an attack on Pan-Africanism. So what?
Again, Pan-Africanist adversarial arguments are moot. This is a defense.
Wait. Let me, because you cut my build at first, so I wanted you to clarify this.
I said I can give you an example if you want. You gave way for me to give the example. I didn't cut you, bro. Let's be clear. No.
I'm saying, okay, I don't mean you rudely cut, but you cut my build. I'm saying me allowing you to do it, whether I allowed you or you did on your own. Rudely,
bro. You gave way.
Right. Listen, what I'm saying to you, man, goodness. I'm saying by you doing this, you're cutting my build. Let me word it that way. So I thought it was a quick thing. You said it was going to be quick, but you've been talking quite a bit. But all I'm asking, because when I ask you a question, you kind of long-winded. All I'm asking is what are the adversarial arguments that I was saying mute?
Bro, you didn't specify. Yeah, you can specify.
Okay, wait. So if I didn't specify, how do you know that that's an attack on Pan-Africanism? If you don't,
bro, well, maybe you. I'm prepared to be corrected, you know, bro, my brother. Maybe you can show me, yeah, where you demonstrate understanding defense, because you're not a Pan-Africanist, but you have some understanding. There's no way your brother Wujao of the Amin Ra squad, you know what I'm saying, operating in the quote-unquote conscious community and have no understanding of what Pan-Africanism is or stands for. So maybe you can show me, and if you show me this, I'm prepared to be completely corrected. I'll take back the statement that I made. Where you are correcting ADOS in relation to false statements or any unjust attacks, yeah, against the Pan-Africanist movement. Let's say in Cobra, for example.
Okay.
Or, you know what I mean?
Okay, let me do this. What it looks like you're looking for is for me to say something about anything that ADOS, especially coming from, I guess, the leadership of ADOS against Pan-Africanism. Like that's what you're looking for. That's what you just said. But hold off on that. I'm saying that in my post, there's a video with my post, Dr. Khalid Muhammad, where I say,
I've watched the video, bro.
Where I say Malcolm X and Dr. Khalid. The video is called Malcolm X and Dr. Khalid Muhammad is ADOS. And if you watch the video, I was saying that the Pan-Africanist adversarial arguments, I'm talking about specific arguments that was taking place within the group, within the ADOS group that you're pulling this from. I said their arguments are mute based on this video, and anybody who understand who were making those arguments and watch the video, they're gonna know what I'm talking about. It's not an attack against Pan-Africanism, the ideology, or anything like that. I was talking about the adversarial arguments that was coming from Pan-Africanism against ADOS.
Bro, first of all, you don't mention Pan-Africanism. Yeah, that's what you said. Yeah, and I am.
Oh, wait. I'm saying, I said earlier, if I mention Pan-Africanism, that I do it in response to something. I purposely do not talk about Pan-Africanism and bring it up and all that other kind of stuff because it's so heated.
Let me clarify. Question: are you saying that ADOS descendants of slavery, yeah, that there are Pan-Africanists in the group that were making certain arguments, and you made this post in response to those arguments? This is what you're responding to.
You breaking up? You saying? Am I saying what? ADOS what?
In the ADOS American Descendants of Slavery group, yeah, that there are Pan-Africanists in the group, and there was a debate going on in the group between the Pan-Africanists and the ADOS advocates, and you were responding to that argument in the group.
Yes, I did that in that group and elsewhere.
Okay, so how would that and I'll be interested to know where and who the Pan-Africanists are in the ADOS group.
I don't think they're in the group. I don't think they're in the group anymore. I don't think
they're not there no more. Okay, cool. I'll see if they're in the group
anymore.
When I was a member of the we had some exchanges there, yeah, and similar, and I was defending Pan-Africanism there, and you were defending ADOS and sanctioning of the ADOS, you know what I'm saying, whatever, against Pan-Africanism. So, and as well, in the group that the same group that we're talking about, the Amara Squad group, you made this, you know, facetious kind of comment about Pan-Africanism and paying taxes. There was another one which I don't think was made by you, and I don't think it's made by you, to do it in all fairness, but I believe you did like it, which was about Pan-Africanists without a passport, yeah, and these kinds of things. All this ridicule, yeah, in the midst of a genuine ideological debate, yeah. So when that happens, it suggests to me personally, yeah, it suggests to me that there is support, yeah, for the anti-African narrative that comes from ADOS.
Okay, so let me explain because so if this is how this may be how you're reading into what Yvette says and everything too. So let me explain for you because I can speak for myself. No, so are you
gonna give me a lesson of comprehension now, brother Wujah?
Yeah, on what I said. On what I said. So this is the thing. In the Amara Squad group, when I said about paying taxes, there are Pan-Africans in the group who were telling me that they're not American or saying something about the ADOS movement and the whole American aspect of it. So I had a conversation with several people in the group asking them, well, what is your nationality? Are you a citizen of the United States of America? Especially, more specifically, a good brother, Pan-African Design. I forget his. I think his name is James. I had a conversation with that brother as well, and from those conversations, I asked the question. The question is there. It's not facetious. It's a serious question. Do Pan-Africanists pay taxes? What is on the passport of a Pan-Africanist? Because of the things that was being said in the group. So if you want to isolate my statement and think that that's an attack on Pan-African, no. And I understand that you're a Pan-Africanist, you may be sensitive to that or whatever, but that's not an attack. That's a legitimate question based on the context of the conversation, on the other posts and conversations that I've been having with people who identify themselves as Pan-Africanists and refuse to say that they're American and that, you know, American ADOS is an integration movement and this, that, and the third. These are kind of conversations that was transpiring when I asked those questions. So it's nothing facetious about it or whatsoever. Those are serious questions. So, you know, you're not an American.
I have a question.
Wait, let me.
I've got to go. So I can't. We have a time.
I know.
Conversation.
Okay, let me finish thing real quick. I'm just addressing.
Yeah, I'm signing off. I'm not gonna.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't.
Okay.
Say that again?
All right. Yeah.
But what's it called? Yeah. So, but respect to all the brothers and sisters on the panel. It's no love. And anytime you want to further, Brother Wujah, you said you were going to come before a conversation. And the invitation is still open, but I'm yet to receive it. But when you're ready, I'm willing to come and we'll build I will discuss further, but it's all love. Free, but it's all love. We're all African, whether we like it or not. So bless.
Okay, yeah, all humans are Africans. Yep. All right, so
Indeed, bro. Indeed, all humans are Africans.
yeah,
And all Africans are
yeah, we're all mammals. We're all mammals, and we're
African is all perish, my brother.
all Homo sapiens, and we're all Africans.
Hotel, brother.
Perish, my brother.
I don't have a problem with that. All right, Hotel.